everybody, Baz Luhrmann. Let's put our hands together and let's hear what the maestro has to say.
You guys are amazing.
No, you don't see people actually enjoying any concert film like they're actually at a concert. And the fact that like there were whoops, there were cheers, you all were literally like, I think in Las Vegas for half of this movie.
Absolutely.
It was so exhilarating.
Can I just like pay you to go to every screen? Is that cheating? I don't know. You guys rock out, but thank you very much for having me.
Listen, I mean, truly, Baz, you somehow did like a really amazing magic trick. Something that I'm always wondering about when as a theater maker, right? How one invokes liveness in the space of theater, how in the space of a film, right? How one it creates for the audience that same sense of ephemerality.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to be here now or else it might never be there again. Was like, how did you get the idea of editing the film in this manner?
Well, in this case, it was about getting out of the way and letting Elvis be Elvis. And I mean, that sounds simplistic.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything I did, you know, like I did the quick potted history. Probably some of you have heard the story, but this is an accidental film. It wasn't meant to happen. And I was making Elvis the movie, and Ernst Jorgensen said to me, look, I think there might be some lost footage that you could use in the showroom. So I had the resources because it's expensive, to get the guys to go into the salt mines in Kansas City, literally salt mines, where they hold all of the MGM footage, and thought we might find a reel. And anyway, it was a bit, you know, I didn't actually go, but I'm getting pictures. It was a bit Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, kick in the door, and 65 reels of negative guys, of the Vegas show, 1970, of the tours, and some 8 mil came into our hands at the same time. So amazing, but no sound. So we have all the negative, but no sound. And then we start to transfer, I start to see what we have. It's towards, I don't use it in the movie, but I realize that, you know, we're left, Jono Rebin, who's my creative partner in this, editor and producer, what a great force. It's like, what if we can't put it back in the salt mines and just, you know, the room smelled of vinegar. Do you know what that is? When it starts in vinegar, that is negative falling to pieces. So we convinced Warner's to at least scan it, and that took forever. And then it was 2 years to find Mag, and Mag is original soundtrack used in other cutting versions. Crawl it back. The band, the voice and everything, that was great. Some of the orchestrations were not well enough recorded. Some, you know, sweet inspirations stuff, great, but some not. So we had to find ways of solving that. But then, yes, to answer your question, Joe.
Yes. I was waiting. I was like, I know all this stuff.
Short and efficient. I'm avoiding it. No, but I'm not, because in the short, efficient answer really is, we found this 40-minute tape of Elvis in a really unguarded way, just talking about himself. Like in a way in which you're not used to hearing Elvis do that. And the light bulb went on, we went, you know what? That's it. We've got to make something. We can't just heat up the other docos. How do you get it all in? And we thought, let's just let Elvis tell his story through his own words and his music. And you know, that's the thing about Elvis docs, and there's some really good ones, but it's always talking heads, you know, it's always someone telling you about him. You know, I put some gas in Elvis's car one day, and you looked at me, and I wrote a book. You know? and it's that thing. So we made that decision. Let Elvis tell his story. But when it came to him performing on stage, And that's the thing. There's no one quite like Elvis on stage. For many reasons, not least of which is you saw it in the movie. He never rehearsed it. He didn't rehearse steps. What he did was he became the music. He became, he's doing all the orchestrations with voice. He's working with the band and the audience in a kind of whipped up, emotional, almost religious state where everyone's got their eyes on him. They never know what he's going to do, And I think we wanted to convey that feeling in the theatre, and we, of course, mixed it in a way, and we caught audience in a way, but the number one focus was to make you feel like you were there for a very important reason. Because I think ever since I started working on Elvis the movie, the one thing I can never not think about, and Elvis says it in this film, he thinks he's going to Vegas to make an amazing show, to do one show, because I'm going to go, I'm really looking forward to going to England, and I'm going to go to Europe and Japan, and then he does a tour around America, and then he does Vegas again, and tour around America, and then again, and again, and he never goes, and I think about what would it have meant if he could have spread his wings and got out of that cage and gone on that tour. So Jono and I and everyone in the music team, our devotion was to give Elvis the world tour he dreamed of but never had. And so we wanted to feel like you were there. That was an obsession. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, actually, you segued so well into my next question, which is, how does a boy from Australia end up making not one but two Elvis Presley movies? Like, is there not an Australian Elvis? Like, why was this singular person so big for you that you devoted, I think now it's basically like a decade to him, maybe more?
Well, we have John Farnham, but you wouldn't know him, but he's a brilliant singer. But it's quite different. See, it doesn't matter how great a singer you are, Elvis inhabits a cultural space unlike any other. If you really think about the story of Elvis, it's unlike anything else. I mean, there are about one other person that would swim in his waters, meaning the most famous young man on the planet. But there's no precedent for that. There was no precedent for a teenager. That was a new invention. There he is. He's so famous, so threatening, so scary to the older generation, and suddenly, bang, the army. Very much like K-pop stars, like BTS, suddenly having to go to the army, And then within weeks, his mother's dead. And that hole in his heart, then going to the army, then when he comes back, he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood, right? River of money, but continually feeling more and more, I would say, not even just dispirited, but self-loathing about, he says it in his film. You couldn't have paid me any money in the world to feel less horrible about myself.
Did those movies come to Australia?
Well, there's a hook. I'm getting to it.
I'm sorry, I was so curious though. My brain moves fast too.
We've worked together before, right? I'm just teasing him, right? Because he likes lots of quick answers. No. Yes, and then, he reclaims his life back by this. He reclaims, beginning with the comeback special, and then he reclaims. He needs to show everyone what Elvis can do. However, I grew up in a tiny country town in Australia. And we have a gas station and a farm, but we also run the cinema for a short time. And every Sunday we had an Elvis matinee. And that would be my door into Elvis. And to me, he was the coolest man in the world. And I would have been seeing something like Easy Come, Easy Go, going, wow, yoga is what yoga does. I'd be like, wow, what is this yoga thing? How weird. But that was the end. And then I was born dancing, and Burning Love dropped. So, I'd say put Burning Love on and really gets you going. And he was there, but then I grew into other musical tastes and things. He was always there. But the real answer about my journey on Elvis, the film, was I always thought of Amadeus as I love Amadeus. But is it about Mozart, or is it about jealousy? And when coming to this idea of a musical biography, I just think Elvis sums up America in so many ways, for the good and the bad and the ugly and the whatever. It's a great and for the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. So I set out to do that. And I thought at the end of Elvis the movie, Elvis would be leaving the building. But damn it, we found all this footage. And I was like, you know, apart from the fact that rumors got out that we had the footage, and it was a bit like, release the footage, you know. I just felt a responsibility to do it. And then it became, well, you know, it was hard to convince financiers, and 2 years to get it all together, and it was on again and off again and all of that. But I just thought, like, we're going to do it. And we're going to do it like a dreamscape, as if Elvis comes to you and tells you a story, and we'll do it in a different way. And it was the most enjoyable thing I've ever actually worked on. It was just so enjoyable to do. And, you know, I guess I didn't have to write it. I didn't have to shoot the images. And I knew it had been cast really, really well in the lead role. You know.
I adore that. Yeah, give them a clap. You know, I had the pleasure and displeasure of making a documentary, directing a documentary, and it was like exhilarating for me for a lot of reasons. But I also discovered in making a documentary that the sort of amount of footage and the amount of things that are available to you means that, like, it really is the truest version of killing your darlings, right? Like, my mom is so mad. She's like, you shot so much good stuff of me. Where is it in the documentary? And I'm like, all on the cutting room floor, ma'am. What was the dearest darling you had to cut in the making of this?
Actually, I keep going, by the way, you're right about that. There's an old adage in editing, which is, you know, the first thing you do is you cut your favorite shot, get rid of it. Cutting shots of your mother, I think, are going to another level. I'm not sure I'd take that risk. You know, right? But it's the stuff, like, we had to stay on point. We made a commitment. We were about not showing a concert film, although that's such a large part of it, but letting Elvis tell his story.
Yeah.
But there's stuff like, there's such cool stuff like him hanging out with the Sweets, and they're talking about a guy that used to be in the band, and it was just hanging there, so yeah, he got married, and well, he had to go back, and they go, really? And you just kind of feel like, and you know, look, I don't know what your experience is, but one of the great discoveries of seeing so much footage about Elvis, the big surprise, was I knew he was funny. I mean, he's hilarious, and he's so goofy. And I've got a bit of a theory, which is in spending all that time in Graceland and having an office and meeting like Sam Bell and hearing about how poor Elvis was. I mean, Sam said, look, Elvis was living in one of the few white houses in the black community. And he said, you know, my grandparents, we had a nice garden patch. It was a good house. But he was from East Tupelo. I mean, he was really poor. And his father was in a famous jail. And I think that shame was with him. But then he grows up into this kind of Greek god with an Orphean-like voice. And I think, well, it's like this, you know, Cissy Houston was in the Sweets the year before, and she has this little daughter called Whitney. And Whitney, Elvis comes in one day. I think Whitney's about 10 or something, and Whitney tells it, she goes, you know, Elvis comes in, and it wasn't like, well, hello, Mr. Elvis. It was more like, you just stare, you know? You just stare. And I thought to myself, well, I think it's his thing that inside he's this incredibly sensitive, vulnerable, still insecure, but spiritual, kind. So much footage of him being polite, just overtly polite. But he kind of looks like the statue of David and can sing like, you know, anything, you know. And it's intimidating. And I think the goofiness is a lot about disarming the godlike imagery and making the band feel cool, and that he's saying, I'm human. And, you know, even to the audience, I'm human, you know. And I think that disarmament, coupled with this kind of extraordinary physicality and ability to move and channel music and take, you know, a folk song like, you know, Bridge Over Troubled Water and turn it into a gospel powerhouse, like that gift, it's him disarming people about him. He's just saying, I'm human. Yeah. So I don't even know if that answers the question, but you know.
But you kept cutting towards the humanity and cutting towards him telling that part of his story, is what I'm hearing?
Yeah. I think sometimes it was a great start, but you went like, no, we've got to stay on point with him. And I think, you know, he says that great line and he says, look, it's very hard to live up to an image. The image is one thing and the man is another. It's very hard to live up to it. And he says, you know, and I think we tried to stay on point with showing Elvis the man and not just Elvis the image, you know? Then Elvis the man, you know, I mean, you know, you really want to know what Elvis actually thinks? Look at the music, you know. There are people on reservation and in the ghetto, but for the grace of God, we'll go there, you and I. So before you judge or abuse, walk a mile in my shoes. You know, like that is someone who is about compassion, decency, civility, kindness. And I think that those qualities are inherent in the man. So we just want to let him speak. You know?
That's beautiful. I feel like I'm being very greedy because you and I get to do this anytime we want, but not everyone here gets to chat with you. So is it okay if we ask some questions from the audience?
I love to be asked questions.
Great.
Right here.
Oh, wow.
Normally, no one puts their hand up. That's great.
I would pick you, but she actually raised her hand first.
But I have more of a comment. You have given us a gift that you do not know the breadth of with this film, because for those of us who never got to experience him directly in the theater, we now have that, and we have it for eternity, hopefully. But it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, not just to me, though. Not just to me. The group involved in making this work, and that is from Jamison Shaw or to John O. Redmond, who many and I didn't go on with the family, to Peter Jackson and his amazing team at Park Road, who with love made those pictures look like they do. I mean, I'm telling you with love. Like, and Peter did the Beatles piece, and he's a Beatles guy. And when Peter saw it, he went like, I had no idea Elvis was like that, you know. And when he saw Elvis doing the Beatles stuff, you know, so but listen, I can only be thankful on behalf of everyone for that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
First of all, congratulations. It's just a fucking great movie.
Thank you for that.
I have a comment and then two questions.
Sure.
Comment
Can it be
is,
one question?
Yeah. Quick. MGM 1970 stuff. It's just, I've never seen it look so great.
Yes.
It sounds so great. We were
Yes.
at the Chinese last night, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever seen there.
Thank you.
Wow. So on the questions is, number one, on the MGM 1970 stuff.
Yeah.
What was the most surprising thing you saw about it? And then secondly, are you ever going to release the full concerts, all 6 of them, in the totality?
Yes.
There's just so
They're great questions. Look, first of all, by the way, some kids sometimes say, no tea, no shave. They go like, oh, don't get so excited, it's AI. There's not a frame of AI in this film. And I can talk for AI, I'm not frightened of AI, but the one thing AI does is it does something like, and it's really impressive, but what makes human beings and a soul is not our perfection, which AI does very well, it's our imperfection. And it's Elvis's chaos and imperfection and unlike any other that makes him who he is. So the reason the pictures look so great is that we had the negative, and it was anamorphic 35 shot on. Anamorphic. Now, technically what that means is it's kind of squished on the 35 neg, but when it's opened up, so it's kind of moving towards 70. And Peter and his team were able to take out aberrations. What they do is any tiny scratch, and they allow the grain to breathe in it. And that allows us to, when we took the colorization into it, we could match pretty much the maximum representation of that film as it would have been. You know, like those movies that were shot on anamorphic 35 back in the day, they looked so rich in color. So there was that. As to your second question, yes, there is so much more footage. Not just of that, right, but of the 16, that we have all of Hampton Road, the entire concept, right?
Oh.
Now,
The 70 stuff is awesome.
yeah, there's no question about it, and he's absolutely at his peak, you know. And I just walked in at the end there because I wanted to just catch your vibe, And we're doing Caught in a Trap. And you know in the original doc, he always finishes with the kind of bend and the but that bit where he goes, the girls, and he's teasing the girls, basically he's sort of going like, nah, you don't know, I'm gonna, you know, keep them on their toes. That's not in it, that's something not seen before. I just feel, I mean, I do have to move on. There are other, you know, things I got to get to, but I've come to peace with the fact that I think probably Elvis will never quite leave my building, and so I will set up a team, right? By the way, it's all about this weekend. If we get enough of a number, not this weekend and the following weekend, if we get enough of audiences in there, and that's why I talk out to the, you know, EPiC core. Well, you know, I didn't know we had sergeant majors in the house. Right? Wow, you're great. But listen, it is about, I tell you what the most gratifying thing is so many people are a bit like, oh yeah, Elvis, he's a Halloween man. Someone's dragged him along to the show, and they've come out going, I get it. I'm totally converted. And I think if we do that well, that proves a viability to get on and set up a team to do the rest of it. So, you know, my hope is that progressively over the years, nothing goes to waste, you know? Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's the very last one.
I'll come to you guys, you deserve it.
Yes,
But we'll do a couple more.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi, Victory and Skylar. We're from the Pink Cadillac.
You are the best, you guys.
It
You
is
are
such
amazing.
an honor to meet you, and this whole time you've been talking about how your door to Elvis was your matinee, and our door to Elvis was you because of your movie in 2022. So this is like what you're talking about is this happened to us. Like, we're here because of what you did 4 years ago. We know it's gonna happen again after people see this movie. We're pushing for non-Elvis fans to get in those seats. So what is something that you hope people who are non-Elvis fans learn and get from EPiC?
Well, I'm gonna throw it back on you guys. I mean, in this way, no, I don't want to put you on the spot, but presumably, was the film a kind of door into Elvis for you, the drama film?
Yes.
How aware of Elvis were you, or what was your? You can be honest before that. Were you already predisposed to sort of being into Elvis?
Yeah. For me, my dad had played music
Yeah.
during Christmas time, so I
Yeah.
knew of Elvis. He loved vintage stuff.
Yeah.
What about you, Victor? I didn't know anything.
Well, you are literally the scientific experiment I need.
Yeah.
Because one thing I want to say to everyone, and this I think we can get out there, it's a generational thing, this Elvis moment. I mean, what's amazing is that grandparents put their 10-year-olds in front of the Elvis movie when it was went online on streaming, and I've saw so many videos sent where they're jumping up and down. And now 13-year-old kids, the other one that were dressing up is the Elvis. So I think there's this great generational handing down, which is what happened to you. But you went into Elvis, you saw the film, that opened up you to Elvis and what he stood for. I mean, what he stood for is the music, but it's the human being, it's the humanity, right? And then now you're going further down this journey and you guys are kind of cheerleaders for it. And I think that, you know, I mean, I wouldn't go making bets to people, but the thing is to challenge them to at least, it's a bit like a Guinness. I don't really drink beer, but you know, as I try Guinness at least twice. You know? Yeah, but I think my hope is what's happened to you guys. One of you, your dad liked it, so you kind of exposed to it. You not so much. But now look at you. I mean, you know, you just kind of. I'm not telling you to rock out. You know?
It's that Elvis magic. That's what we call it.
Yeah,
Elvis
yeah,
magic. That night that I saw your film, like in my seat, I literally felt like a vibration through me, and I was like, yeah, I know of Elvis, but like, why is this speaking to me so much? And that night, I just like deep dive, and then I went on TikTok, and I was like, does anyone else feel like this? Because I feel insane. And then everyone else was like, yeah, I also feel like this. And this is what happened in summer 2022, Baz. There's so many of us now that go to Graceland because of you. Yeah. Every Elvis week, every Elvis birthday, like we're in the guest house lobby building a community. Everyone comes up to a young Elvis fan. How are you a fan of Elvis? Was that Elvis movie 2022? And they go, really?
Baz Luhrmann.
And this has happened so many times. So it's just, it's great work. So thank you so much. Seriously.
Well, you get me all emotional. But have to do something. The guys, you know, we have the social feeds now, and I saw you take in Vegas your whole family and your dad.
Oh wait, yeah, that
Yeah.
was my dad.
Oh, was it your dad?
Yeah, that
And it
was
was
my
so
dad.
nice. And you go, and you say, "Well, Dad, you're about to see Elvis," and he goes, "Yeah, I'm kind of more into you too." and I'm thinking, well, he's in for a bit of a surprise at the end of the film, you know. But, you know, and then they come out and they're kind of into it, you know. So, look, I don't know what to say except it's a beautiful thing. If I make one thing that touches one person, that's great. But the way you're talking, it's an authentic thing. And, you know, I was young once too, you know. And I grew up in a very isolated place. And I was, fandom is kind of connecting with art or a person or a personality and it lifting you up. And, you know, I know what you mean when you said vibration, because if there's one thing about Elvis, it's a unique energy that he has that is so unpredictable. I mean, he cannot stand still. And when he's on stage and he interprets a song, that energy live comes across footlights, but in a film, it comes across the screen. And I think that's what you're feeling, is the energy of Elvis. So, no, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We do have to go, but I do have to say that almost made me cry because I'm only up here because when I was 8 years old in like a really small town that, like, you know, Martinsville, Virginia, you never heard of it. I got infected by theater, right? Because I saw a screening of Romeo and Juliet, and I was like, I don't know what this is, and then I saw Moulin Rouge, and everything he made. You have this ability to infect people, truly. Like, and that's a good thing in this metaphor. But you get inside of their spine and in their imagination and make the world around them bigger, even if they're from a really small place. And I'm very excited for this weekend and next week, and I hope you guys spread this sort of crazy, infectious energy, and it's very powerful.
Well, first of all, thanks, Jeremy. You know, this is a great young artist himself, and he inspires me, as all young artists do. And then I'm just going to finish up with one ridiculous plug. The album is dropping tomorrow night at 12, right, and the single. So let's finish up by all saying together, 1, 2, 3, is the phrase, play the hell out of it. All right, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it. Listen, we are, you know the scene where Elvis is going through all the girls being kissed, and you can see the Colonel guiding him?
Yes.
We're rehearsing that scene, and it's the day before shooting, and I say, okay, let's bring Tom over to rehearse. And we had to work out, because COVID was around, how to do it. There were certain rules about, you know, not too much physicality. And the first assistant comes over and says, oh, Tom's gone. And I'm like, should I say something? You know, and he goes, no, I think he's got that cold thing, that flu thing. And the next thing, there's dudes with hazmat suits. We're back on the stage, shut down, the film's over. And I literally going, wow, this is real. I look up on CNN and it says, Tom Hanks has COVID. And in that moment, the entire world took a breath and went, this is real. And the film was over. And for a while there, I was a bit like, oh, well, whew, I'm off the hook. I don't have to deliver. And I went on and I went to Austin and I said, look, there's no way we can go on. You've got to go back to the US. We were shooting in Australia. And he said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. And I rang Tom because he got over his sickness. And I said, look, I think we got to push forward and do it, you up to it. And he said, look, let's just wait until February. This was like in November until it's all over. I said, what I'm hearing is it's not going to be over in February. And he said, well, can you shoot me out by Christmas? And I said, yeah. And what I'm talking about with Austin, he just stayed. And even though everyone was saying the film was over, he just willed it. He willed it. He willed it to happen. Wow. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.